Welcome to REST, which stands for Resiliency and Empowerment Seminar today. I am your host, Susan Gans, and I am the founder of Gans Strategic Solutions, where we operate at the intersection of human behavior and business. For more information, please see www.gansstrategicsolutions.com. Today, I am delighted to have some special guests, but before we do that, let's talk about what this show is all about. This show is about highlighting the leaders of small and mid-sized businesses as well as nonprofits to shine a light on the organizations and the people behind them, as well as hear how they're being resilient during these very special times. Today, I am so delighted to welcome two colleagues of mine from the Nassau Suffolk Legal Services, Marissa Luchs Kindler and Rez Islam. And we'll hear a little bit about them in a minute. I wanted to say that I'm on the advisory council of Nassau Suffolk Legal Services. And the reason why I got involved is because of their core value to support diverse communities and to be very inclusive. And I have a core value about diversity and inclusion, so it aligned with my values. And there's so much that people don't know about NSLS in terms of providing free legal services from a civil point of view for the community. And that is very powerful. And you'll hear why during the course of this conversation with Marissa and Rez. So first up, let me give some background on Marissa. So Marissa has been an attorney at Nassau Suffolk Law Services since 2006 and was named and has been the supervisor of the housing civil unit in their Suffolk County offices since 2013. Prior to that, Marissa represented both landlords and tenants as in residential and commercial cases in New York and Kings counties as an associate of the law firm of Finkelstein, Bora, Schwartz, Altucher, and Goldstein PC, was in-house counsel to Soleil Management Corp. Additionally, Marissa served as assistant counsel to the New York City Loft Board, an agency of the Mayor's Office of the City of New York during both the Dinkins and Giuliani administrations. And Marissa graduated from Brooklyn Law School in 1990. Rez is and has been named the managing attorney for Nassau County in recognition of his leadership role and extensive additional responsibilities he's taken on in response to the COVID-19 crisis. Rez was born and raised in Long Island. He received his BS in pharmacology and toxicology and a BA in sociology from the State University of New York at Buffalo. He received his JD from the City University of New York School of Law. He has been an attorney with Nassau Suffolk Law Services since 2012. He is the supervising attorney for the Disability Advocacy Project, focusing on Social Security and supplemental Social Security income disability issues. He is also the supervising attorney for the Behavioral Health Law Project in Nassau County. He is admitted to practice in New York, New Jersey, and the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York. He has represented numerous clients before the Social Security Administration and in federal court. So with that, welcome to both Marissa and to Rez.
Hello.
Great. Okay. So I want to go back to a little bit earlier in your careers, how you got involved in the law, and then specifically how you chose Nassau Suffolk Law Services.
Well, I'm the daughter of an attorney. So since I'm very young, I was raised in believing it is a noble profession. I got involved in landlord-tenant, actually, doing a clinic in law school. I wanted to work with the professor who ran that clinic. So I ended up in the landlord-tenant clinic, and I really enjoyed it. I continued on with landlord-tenant law and different machinations, as you said. I was in a private firm. I was in-house counsel, and then dealing with a different form of housing, lofts in the city of New York. I worked for the mayor's office. And then actually I took about 9 years off to stay home and raise my daughters. And I knew when I went back, I wanted to actually do what was so near and dear to my heart, what I had started out with in law school, coming full circle. And if I was leaving my children to go back to work, I really wanted it to be something very rewarding for me and special. And Nassau Suffolk Law Services completely fit that bill. And I am absolutely thrilled that I took the leap to go back and that law services wanted me.
That's fantastic. And what about you, Rez?
Well, I went to law school knowing that I wanted to help people, which is one of the main reasons I went to CUNY School of Law. It's one of the best public interest schools in the country, actually. And while there, I learned about all the different issues that people that are experiencing poverty face. And after I graduated, being from Long Island, I found an opportunity at Nassau Suffolk Law Services and jumped on it, and have been there ever since. I love it.
That's fantastic. And I love both of your core values around, wanting to give back. That's what you led with. I just came off of this discussion earlier with some business school colleagues about purpose-driven leadership and values. So it's a very timely discussion. So with that, can you tell our audience a little bit more about Nassau Suffolk Law Services and the work that you do to impact the community?
Do you want me to go or Marissa?
Sure, you give the
You can lead
overview.
it.
I can give the overview. All right. So Nassau Suffolk Law Services actually has provide services in a broad range of civil legal services. We do all sorts of civil legal services, including landlord, tenant, social security, welfare law. We also do some family court. We don't do anything in immigration or in the immigration world or in the criminal world, but we do all sorts of civil matters, and we are, I think, very good at it. We have very robust landlord-tenant units in both Nassau and Suffolk County. We have a social security unit that serves both counties, and then we have a bunch of different specialty units in each county that are unique. Some are unique to each county, and some operate in both counties, including mental health law projects and seniors units.
That's fantastic. And I know, Marissa, you've been involved in the landlord-tenant world now for several years. Can you also share with us what's been going on with COVID-19 and the issues that you've seen that have come about and that are coming up?
Well, since the beginning of the pandemic, when the courts system pretty much shut down in March, we were inundated with people with concerns. They had lost their jobs. They were worried. They weren't getting their unemployment insurance. How are they going to pay their bills? At that point, the courts were not hearing cases. So it was pretty much, okay, let's just take a step back. Let's take a breath. And throughout that time period, the governor started issuing moratoriums so nobody could be evicted for a certain amount of time. And that went on and on. The courts have recently reopened. So at this point, we are back in court doing the defense of eviction cases. There's the state of New York passed what's known as the Tenant Safe Harbor Act, which is going to provide continuity of housing, that tenants won't be able to be evicted for non-payment of rent if they can show that their necessity, that their lack of income was due particularly to the COVID-19 pandemic. There are different machinations and little intricacies, but that really is going to be a great tool to keeping people housed. The CDC order also, the federal government issued CDC order, that really expires at the end of December, so it's really not going to probably be as effective as the New York laws are concerned. At this juncture, though, and I know it's happening in Nassau as well, the sheriffs are not affecting evictions currently. So people aren't getting evicted. However, they don't have the money to pay their rent. So there will be an eviction tsunami when it finally does start to happen. And that's the great concern, because really the reason for all these moratoriums and stays was not because people, didn't have money and so we're just going to let everybody stay where they are. It's to stop the spread of COVID.
Yes.
If people were not having to move around, move in with family in overcrowded situations, or go into homeless shelters, that was a good thing. People were being told to stay at home. We are seeing a second wave now. We're getting notifications every day. Court personnel are testing positive in what they're doing. But at this juncture, people are back in court. Tenants are being sued for eviction. And it's going to become a big problem, I think, for both counties come the winter. Mm-hmm.
And so you're gearing up for a particularly busy season to support all these people.
Busier.
Busier season.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
It used to be, it used to be around between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was quiet. Not because the courts thought it was a good idea to be quiet, but because the attorneys generally went on vacation then, the landlord's attorneys. So that's not happening now. Nobody's going anywhere. And if they do, they have to quarantine when they come back. So what's the point of leaving? So unfortunately, I anticipate that if something isn't done, if money isn't forthcoming from the federal government to the state for relief, and this is for the homeowners too, the landlords too. I'm talking about small landlords who need this money, and now they may be out up to 10 months of rent, that they relied on to pay their bills and their mortgage. It'll be a disaster. So, every day I tentatively turn on my computer to see what order has come down and is it going to be helpful. And we have a wait and see situation going on right now.
And what's so wonderful is that Nassau Suffolk Law Services is there to support all these people and handhold them through the process. And if you can't help, at least you point them in the right direction of resources where they can seek help.
We do. And people should just, if you go on our website, people should be aware that we do outreach webinars. And we've done them through the Brentwood Library. We do them just as a matter of course for advocates, about what the current state is in landlord-tenant. We've been doing them throughout the pandemic. I think we did one in June. We did one in September. We're doing one in December. That's probably on our website. If not, they can call in and find out. And we've done several now in English and in Spanish. We did 2 presentations through the Brentwood Library in a remote. And we're trying to partner with a lot of the libraries to do those, to get the information right out to the public.
To the community. That's perfect. And Rez, can you talk about some of the changes, the resiliency that Nassau Suffolk Law Services has had during this time, during COVID, and how switch things to virtual and how you've interacted with your client community?
Sure. So, I mean, like everyone else, I think in March, this all happened very quickly. So we shut down, and I think very quickly we were able to move from in-office meetings to having a completely remote work environment. We within a few weeks to a month, we were able to get everyone working remotely initially we were using our own equipment, and then we were able to get everyone equipment to work remotely. One of the things that I think that we did most effectively was actually, I think we created a plan that allowed everyone to continue to serve the public while staying safe. We reopened as the governor started reopening. So in the months of April, May, and June, we were essentially closed to the public, but we continued to serve everyone over the phone. We made sure to call everyone back. We were open to some staff that needed to be in the offices and to use the office equipment. There were some people going in one or two at a time to make sure that the clients whose cases were ongoing got the help that they needed. Because Social Security, for example, and people that were doing welfare cases, those were going on through the whole thing. Even though there was a moratorium on landlord-tenant cases, there were Social Security and welfare cases happening the entire time. So we were able to prioritize and get those clients the help that they needed, and those cases were able to continue to get work done. And then we created a plan that, while I think it did a very good job of balancing all the different needs of meeting with the public, keeping our clients, our staff safe, and keeping everyone safe, really, the clients and publics and staff, making sure that we are not responsible for spreading the disease to one another.
Absolutely. It's so important that and so wonderful that technology cooperated so that you could still serve your clients and move things forward to the extent that you could, given some constraints of certain courts being closed and certain agencies being open, and figuring out ways to still do your outreach and do the educational webinars and the important work that you're doing. So I have a question for both of you. During these tough times, you're doing a lot of work that's very heavy type of work. What do you do for self-care? What do you do to take care of yourself so that the two of you could be fully present for your clients and the work that you're doing? Marissa's
Well,
smiling.
I think that's a good question.
Yeah. No, I think I think that's a really good question. It was an issue that I think we identified as an organization initially, because there's so many of us that are so used to the in-office interactions that we have with each other. For some of us, the relationships we have with our colleagues are some of the most important ones we have in our lives. So initially, we worked to have these wellness calls. So we organized wellness calls to help each other interact with one another over Zoom calls, take a break in the middle of the day to talk to each other, and to talk to each other. Sometimes, with all of the things that are happening, we ended up talking about what's happening, but we still got to do it with one another. And then in my personal life, thankfully, I have a
he's very busy.
Family. I'm not trying.
You're very busy. Oh, he's very busy right now. Tell them why.
Oh yeah, no, I'm expecting a baby, so that's why I am very at it. Yes. So we've been very busy planning for that, and it's been hectic, but it's been great. It's we're getting ready, and we're very excited.
The funny thing is, and people speak about this, and it is important for us because of what's going on in the world, but before COVID, our clients were always, on the edge of disaster oftentimes. There always was a lot of pressure. Things were not going well for them. So it's, in that regard, it's something that we're used to, if that's the right word for it. But really, so when this happened, of course, it added a whole new layer of stress and anxiety. Yes. But with the technology, we've been able to do, have these, wellness initiatives that our social work staff set up. Last night, we played games together online and had a Zoom call, and it was fun. Once a week, at least once a week, I meet with all the attorneys that I supervise on a call like this. And it first started out, let's just, know what the case is happening, let's check in with the law. And they started going on for, over an hour, just chatting with each other. And we've become closer being apart. And it's, I wouldn't say that this is, what I would have chosen the way to get closer to people, but we've made lemonade out of lemons at this point in a certain regard of that. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so important. I love the fact that you have wellness calls, and I love the fact that you just allow people to have that space to talk and connect, because it can be so isolating, working in what I call this 2D
Mhm.
world.
Yeah.
So
The wellness calls are organized by our social work unit, and as Marissa said, one thing that came out of it is the um, getting closer to each other in a way that we wouldn't expect. And I also get to work with. I was supervising people in all three offices, and I would see people routinely on a weekly basis. But now I get to work more closely with people like Marissa, who before this I wasn't. You know, we would talk, but not never. I think we see each other more now than we definitely did
Right.
before. You know.
It's true, and I think that's I think it's a very special thing about Nassau Suffolk Law Services that, everybody kind of came together and said, okay, we can do this. And then, we're going to do this and we're going to help each other. And it's just, and to our support staff and our they've been remarkable and just
Mhm.
getting things up and running. So it's been a team effort every step of the way.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
once the world goes rights itself again, and hopefully one day we'll all be together in an office, being able to be less than 6 feet from each other and taking our masks off. I think we'll look back at this time with certain fondness, no matter how difficult it is, saying, oh, you remember then, and laughing about it, but we will not be so connected.
No,
And
that's true.
that's good and bad. I mean, to a certain extent, I think, like we're talking about wellness, I think attorneys who work from home sometimes don't know when it's time to stop working.
Yeah.
And so, right, and I'll have to tell them, listen, it's 7 o'clock. They'll be on the phone with me. Both of us, if it was just a normal average day and we were in the office, and we wouldn't be doing this. So go,
Mhm.
go be at home now, be out of the office.
Yeah.
And that's something that that I think people are finding difficult to do. So
Yeah, I think people are finding it difficult, but I think it also speaks to how much our staff cares. Everyone
oh
works
yes.
really hard to a person. Once this all started, everyone's been very willing to do whatever's been asked of them. Going and meeting, with the different ways we had people accessing the office. Initially, it was a very limited schedule. Now it's a little bit more where they have a day in the office, and then the other times they're working remotely. Um, Initially we weren't meeting with clients in the office, and even now we're only doing it with appointments. But there were some attorneys and some people that went to people's houses, met with them in their backyards. They met with
Hmm.
people where they were, in the
Right.
community, to try to make sure that they got the help that they needed. So we have, incredible staff that really came up, that really took up the challenge and didn't, they really stepped up, I think. And I'm
That's
really
true.
proud of
Meeting with people in parking lots or
her.
wherever they were, right, wherever it was convenient for the client, because what choice did we have?
Yeah. Deadlines had to be made, and then we still had to, in some cases we could probably ask for extensions, but we also just needed to get the work done too. We could keep asking for extensions, but we still needed to meet with them at some point. In most cases, the courts, for the most part, have been understanding of the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, we're all going through it. So if something, and they've been granting extensions, but as Marissa said, a tsunami is coming. So.
And
yes.
interestingly enough, I really think, and I am going to toot our own horn, that we were better prepared than a lot of the law firms, the private law firms, to deal with this. When I speak with attorneys, especially at the beginning, it was just beyond their concept of what was happening and how they were going to manage this. And we were kind of like, okay, we're going to be hysterical for a second, and then we're on this. And
Mhm.
honestly, we went home on a Friday and got a call on a Sunday that we weren't
Wow.
opening Monday. So nobody had files, nobody had their Rolodexes. We were really, and we stepped up to the challenge. But I think there were a lot of private firms that had difficulty with doing that, going all remote and being on Zoom calls and the new technology. So yay us.
Which is, it's fantastic. Just the
Mhm.
pivoting, the dedication. I feel the heart that's in the soul of this organization. So I want to close out with two things. First, I'm going to ask you both, what would you like people to remember about our conversation today?
I'll go first. Well,
Mhm.
that Nassau Suffolk Law Services is a very, very important component in the legal world in Nassau and Suffolk County. And I think the dedication we have to our clients and to actually seeking justice for people who, without us, would not be able to afford an attorney, would not have the means or the knowledge how to proceed to best defend themselves in certain circumstances. So I am very, very proud of where I work, the people I work with, and I think that we're a very, very important component of the community.
Mhm.
Fantastic. And Rez, what would you like
Well,
to add?
I echo everything Marissa said, but I also just want to make sure that people understand. One thing that I didn't mention earlier was that we are an income-based service. But if you're not sure if you qualify, it's best that you call us and then let us figure that out, and we'll let you know. And if we can't serve you, we will make sure that we refer you to or point you in the right direction to help you get the help that you need. So it's always better to call, I say, rather than just assume you
Mhm.
don't qualify for our services. Um, but everything Marissa said is spot on. We are an important part of the community, and we definitely, all of us live on Long Island, live or work on Long Island, and we, are very devoted to it and want to make sure that the people there are doing as well as they can.
Yes, and we feel that from your comments. So again, you have Nassau Suffolk Law Services. It's free access to legal services. It is income based, but they're saying please reach out to them regardless so that they can point you in the right direction if they're not able to serve you. They know other resources that might be able to support you in your needs. So, Rez, how can people contact Nassau Suffolk Law Services? What's the best way to get in contact and find
So,
out
so
more?
right now, the best way to contact us is through phone, but we have 3 office locations, one in Hempstead, one in Islandia, and one in Riverhead. But the best way to reach us is over the phone. In Nassau County, if you're living in Nassau County, you should call 516-292-8100. That's the phone number for our Hempstead office. If you're living in with the Western Suffolk, you can call our Islandia office, which is 631.
232-2400.
Yes, and if
That
you're in
much I
the
know.
and so that's
What
631-242. I mean, sorry, 232-2400. And then if
okay.
you're in Riverhead, please call 631-369-1112.
Okay, and the website again?
The website is www.nslawservices.org.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat everything. So the website to find out more information is www.nslawservices.org. If you are in Hempstead or Nassau County, it's 516-292-8100. If you are in Western Suffolk County, their Islandia office is 631-232-2400. And then if you're in Riverhead, it's 631-369-1112.
And
So
the Riverhead office services the entire East End, the
Yes.
Hamptons out to Montauk.
Hamptons to Montauk, so the eastern part of
Right.
Long
the
Island.
whole 9 yards, yes.
Yes.
Got it. You got the island covered.
Mm-hmm.
So Marissa and Rez, I still want to thank you for sharing your personal journey, what's happening at Nassau Suffolk Law Services and the important work that you do. And for our audience, know that this is a resource out there. If not for you, could be for somebody else that you know. It can touch all socioeconomic people, all people of different backgrounds. You never know when somebody's going to need this type of service. And until we meet again in our rest conversations,